The Splatoon series from Nintendo has been a real surprise for me. Back when it first launched on the Wii U, I kinda dismissed it as something I didn't think I'd like. That seems to be a trend when it comes to this series of videos. I eventually decided to give it a try. I went backwards and got Splatoon 2 first. But I liked it so much I wanted the original as well so I could get a more coherent grasp of the story. Several months after finishing both the game's single-player mode, I decided to get the Octo Expansion for the second game. And that's what I want to talk about today. I was really pleasantly surprised in a variety of ways. If you don't know, this is what the Octo Expansion is about. It's a single-player campaign that can be purchased from the eShop. In the Octo Expansion, you actually play as an Octoling. In this case, you wake up in the subway without any memories of how you got there and who you are. Amnesia is a common theme on this channel, it seems. Captain Cuttlefish reveals that you and Agent 3 were involved in a fight before both got attacked by someone and somehow ended up in the subway tunnels, called the Deep Sea Metro. A strange phone who calls you Subject 10,008 says that you have to get to the Promised Land. 10,008 is kind of long number there for a name, so Captain Cuttlefish kind of gives you the alias of Agent 8. Before you can get to the Promised Land, there are 4 thangs, that's what they're called, that you have to collect. You travel on the subway on various lines. Each station is a test that you need to complete. You'll also have contact with Pearl and Marina, who, along with Captain Cuttlefish, act as sorts of guides. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't go into any more detail than that. But I think the expansion does a good job of revealing lore, I guess you could say, and you'll learn a lot about the various characters. It's worth reading the chat logs too when it comes to that, since they reveal more about past events. The thing that impressed me the most with this expansion is the variation in gameplay. The stages are often very different from one another. While some stages shared a lot of similarities with ones you'd find in the main game campaigns, others were much more unique. For example, there are stages where you need to transport a giant 8-ball to its intended destination. Other times you need to survive waves of enemies for a specific amount of time. Sometimes it's unique types of platforming, shooting boxes until they match a specific shape, completing levels with certain types of specials, and much more. There's a lot going on, and I like that you're not quite sure what's going to happen next. Thankfully, they managed to keep things relatively frustration-free. A lot of times you can choose what kind of weapon you want, though you get a bigger reward if you use a more ill-suited weapon. Also, if you are having trouble completing a mission, the game will allow you to skip it after a certain amount of tries. Other than the usual ways of dying, like falling or getting shot, you can also die if certain criteria isn't met. Like for example, if the 8-ball falls off the stage. Then a backpack full of ink explodes. It's essentially like you're wearing a bomb, which is a bit grim, but I guess a lot of the things in this expansion are. Skipping missions will result in you not earning that mission's mem cake, so if you want certain rewards, you'll still need to complete everything. But it's good because you can advance through the story without getting stuck, and if you want, you can backtrack and try and complete everything later. I like that sort of thing because it makes the experience of playing the game more flexible. The subway map acts as a world map. There's always different ways to get to where you need or want to go, so you don't have that feeling as if you're following a straight line. You get a choice in the matter. Once you beat the story, you can not only replay missions, but you also get to exchange your points for items at a vending machine at the Deep Sea Metro Central Station. From what I can tell, what you get is random. Mem medals can be collected if you visit the stations with the blue icons. They can be used as a token so you don't have to spend 15,000 CQ points every time you want an item. You'll also get to play as an Octoling back in the main game, and you can change back and forth whenever you want by changing your character's appearance. In terms of graphics, of course, they're the same as Splatoon 2, but we can talk about the art style. And the Octo Expansion definitely has its own look going on. Splatoon generally sticks to a skater and punk-inspired look, and a lot of the music follows suit. But there's also this theme of having kitchen appliances and various other household items that are recontextualized as weapons or enemies or other things. Like the guns that look like Milwaukee or Makita cordless power tools, and of course the rollers. And then there's the bosses that look like they're made from ovens and things like that. The Octo Expansion leaves a lot of the skater aesthetic behind and goes for a darker New York hip-hop sort of look, which is very evident with the subway that you ride in. Though you could argue that some of that vibe overlaps with the whole New York hardcore scene, and that's where skater fashion has its roots in. But anyway, everything has roots in other things and many things are connected. Keep in mind that the Beastie Boys started out as a punk band. There's also an increase in 80s-ness, if that's a word. There's 80s design elements mixed in all over the place, like the loading screens, and also that little jingle that plays whenever you find one of the things. One of the things. While Splatoon does have darker themes beneath the surface, it's much more obvious in the Octo Expansion. Not just in looks, but with the dialogue. The cryptic words from the phone conjure up all kinds of images of unfulfilled utopian promises. Not to mention, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what the four thangs are once you put all the parts together. And then there's a bunch of smaller things that add to the experience. For example, I like how it says Imagine Inkopolis for the button that essentially just exits you out to the main menu. Or how it says Remember when you want to replay certain things after a game. That's so much better than just asking you if you want to replay the final fight. Unlike some other DLC, I think that the Octo Expansion does deserve having the word expansion in its name. Not only does it add a substantial amount of content, you even get a whole bunch of more insight on the Splatoon universe as a whole. Plus, it was a good way to bring to light darker elements. I do hear some arguments occasionally that the Octo Expansion should have been Splatoon 2's main story, but I disagree. That would have resulted in a whole "they changed the game's tone" thing, but that's just my view. So that's the Octo Expansion. I had a lot of fun playing it. I think Splatoon is one of the best recent franchises Nintendo has come up with, and I'm excited to see what else lies ahead. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. You can do so as well by getting merch or becoming a patron. All the links to everything are in the description if you want to know more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.